Spiritually Inspired is a sacred space for all people to explore issues of shared concern. Listen to consciously aligned guests and search for spiritual inspiration. Podcast hosts Rani Siri and Jayson Barniske, yoga teachers and authors, explore and find inspiration on the path to enlightenment.
Spiritually Inspired. This is Rani Siri.
And this is Jayson Barniske.
So today I'm going to interview Jayson because Jayson just got back from a 10-day silence Vipassana in Joshua Tree, and I would like to ask about his experience from the 10 days silence.
Yeah, so it was an incredible experience. Everybody's been asking me, how was it?
Yes, and how was it?
It was very equanimous. Very equanimous.
Okay.
And that's the whole deal about Vipassana, is to overcome the suffering in our lives. And it was definitely the hardest thing I've ever done.
Why is that? What was the challenge?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about the schedule, the daily schedule of Vipassana.
Okay.
So the daily schedule, well, first of all, like Ronnie said, you have a noble silence and you don't speak at all. From the first day, and then it goes 10 days, and then the next morning or you speak. So it's 10 days without speaking a single word. You have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, and you don't go to sleep until, you go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night, in total silence. You only eat breakfast at 6:30, and then you eat your last meal of the day at 11.
And you don't eat dinner.
Right, no dinner. But believe it or not, that wasn't the hard part. Being in silent was not difficult. The eating, I was never even hungry in the evening. The hard part was the 10 hours of meditation, of sitting still.
Is it like how many hours that you sit each time? Is it just go straight like many hours at once, or is it breaking it up?
So there's a 4:30 to 6:30 meditation, so 2 hours, and then you go have breakfast and you rest, and you come back for another hour. Then you take a break, and then there's another 2 hour. Then you take a break, have lunch, rest, another 2 hour meditation, a break, another hour. Then you go later have tea. So it's basically broken down into 1 and 2 hour meditations. And throughout the day, the only meditations that you're totally required to go to are 3 1 hour meditations. And during those meditations, you can't move, you can't wiggle, you can't scratch your itch, you can't do anything. And then the longer meditations, the 2 hour ones, you can either stay there in the room or stay there in the meditation hall or go meditate in your room. But so interestingly, they don't allow you to bring books. They don't allow you to bring something like pencil and paper. So there's really no other mental stimulation. So during the day, if I didn't want to go and do the 2 hour meditation and go just lay down in my room, I literally had no other mental stimulation. And the only thing that I had was the meditation technique itself. So even if I was laying down in my bed, I was still meditating.
That sounds really intense. So what is the meditation technique that you've learned there?
Well, it's called a Vipassana technique. And it's broken down into 3 main categories. One is called Anapana, is the first one. And that's the first 3 days of the practice. You're focusing on your inhales and exhales. And little by little, you begin to become more aware of the subtle energies. So at first, you maybe start focusing on the inhales and the exhales and feel the air coming in and out of your nose. And something now I'll say is that in no time throughout this technique are you using imagination. A lot of meditations have you focus on a tree in the woods or a golden light or your energy or no. The technique of Vipassana, which Buddha taught, you're really only focusing on physical sensations that you can actually feel. So for instance, in Anapana, like the first stage, you focus on your inhales and exhales. So the most subtle thing you feel is the air coming in and the air going out. After you've done that for about 10 hours, yes, the mind wanders, but you just bring it back.
Yeah.
Like a little puppy, you know? The puppy, you
yeah.
teach the puppy how to sit. And then the puppy gets up and it runs to you and you say, no, sit. And no, sit. And you have to do that maybe 1,000 times until the puppy learns to sit. So this whole process of anapana is teaching the puppy to sit. So first you notice the inhale, the exhale. Then maybe you notice there's a slight sensation of the air passing over your upper lip. Then maybe after doing this for a few more hours, you start to notice that the air is moving in one nostril more than another. Maybe
so you start becoming more sensitive
to the subtle sensations versus the gross sensations. And then deeper, you notice as you inhale, it's cool. And as you exhale, the temperature is hot. And this is only after 3 days. So you can imagine if you've done this for many years, how subtle, how much you sensitize yourself to even deeper, subtler energies. So first, like I said, you have anapana. Focusing on the inhales and exhales. And then you have what's called Vipassana. And this is the actual meditation that Buddha taught 2,500 years ago. And I don't want to go into too much detail about the actual technique because I want our listeners to go and experience it for themselves.
Yeah.
And so without saying too much about the technique, it's basically you're scanning your body part by part, piece by piece, with your awareness. And go ahead.
So it's similar to Yoga Nidra, right? I've learned Yoga Nidra that we scan our body and bring the awareness back to each part of the body and see how your body feels. Very similar.
Very, very similar. Yoga Nidra, you're often laying down. And in Vipassana, you're sitting up straight.
Okay.
And it's for a reason you're sitting up straight. The reason is that you begin to have different sensations. Oh, my back hurts. Oh, my knee itches. My stomach doesn't feel so great. Or maybe I feel this free flowing of energy and I feel wonderful. And as I said before, this whole process is to learn to overcome all the suffering in our lives. So how could sitting still in Vipassana meditation and your back starting to hurt, or maybe my knees start to hurt, or my foot falls asleep, how does that teach me to overcome suffering? So suffering, all suffering in life comes from either attachment or aversion. So when my back starts to hurt, I have this great aversion. If something feels good, this free flow of subtle energy feels good, oh, I might start to create an attachment to that. So as I said before, in equanimity, you learn to watch these sensations without reacting.
And stay detached from your own feelings.
Right, just to observe. Just to observe the sensations themselves. So after you've done this for many, on the very last day, they teach you what's called the metta technique. And basically, again, without too much detail, it's the only time where you might use a little bit of imagination, but I kind of don't think that's a good way of describing it. In the metta technique, you're scanning your body with this awareness, this ring of awareness, right? And charging it with love. And the reason I say this is not imagination is because, like, at our core, what we really are is love. And so we're just experiencing what is.
Yeah, I like that technique because I grew up in Thailand, and actually the scanning body technique is what we use in meditation in Thailand, which is what Buddha taught. Like, feel your breath is flowing from your nose and feeling the body sensation. And I've done Vipassana in Thailand too, but it sounds like this one is more intense. Would you say that was really hard to sit still? What's the most challenging part of it?
I've been through some very difficult things. Like on our second podcast, we talked about the challenges I've been through my life. I used to be a professional MMA fighter, and then that was one of the easier experiences I've had compared to stuff I went through growing up. And Vipassana was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. It was definitely difficult to sit and just observe everything. This technique is taught by, at the retreat I went to, the Vipassana Center retreat, is taught by S.N. Goenka, and he's originally from Bhutan. And Bhutan is a country that's closed down. So the people who live there can't leave, and no one can go into Bhutan. So originally, when Buddha was alive, he sent out all of his teachers to go and share this technique with the world. Some went to Thailand. Some went to Bhutan. Some went towards Europe. Some went all throughout India. And the people who went to Bhutan, because it was a closed country, they stayed there, and that actually helped to preserve the technique. Other places may have added a little this or a little bit of that. So it was my understanding that this was the most authentic and preserved technique, exactly as Buddha taught it 2,500 years ago.
Interesting.
And something else I want to say about the technique. They told a wonderful story, and I hope to tell a few over this podcast. But, so there was a guy who went to India where Goenka learned this from his teacher, right? I guess it was in Bhutan, not India. And this man went, and he actually worked on nuclear bombs for intercontinental ballistic missiles.
The guy that teaches this.
No, a guy who went to the meditation.
I see.
He had all these problems, and he was unhappy and unwell, and he went. And at this retreat, they actually had a private cell in everyone's room so they could meditate. And the teachers would go around and visit everybody. And so Goenka's teacher told him, he said, "Come here and look at this guy." And he was literally standing up on his shoulders, shaking, going crazy,
Yeah.
doing the meditation. And then Goenka was like, well, maybe we should go in there and check him out and see what's going on. And later and his teacher said, no, just let it happen. And they found out that he designed nuclear missiles. So think about all the karma this guy created, and that was the process of him eliminating it. And so he went through like a month-long Vipassana, very intense, and it changed him completely.
He stayed in Vipassana for a month.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And it was his first time. Normally they don't let someone stay that long, but they knew this guy had so much stuff he had to deal
clear,
with.
yeah.
They made an exception.
Wow.
So anyways, he went back to America. And very scientific mind. He said, I know the technique, I've done it, I know that it works, but my scientific mind, I just have to understand why, scientifically, how this works to end the suffering. And later, he found an article and sent it back to his teachers. And the article was about a metallurgist. So it's a guy who purifies metals to go into outer space. And the technique that the metallurgist used to purify the metal is he would make a long cylinder of metal, right? And then he would make a circle of extremely pure metal. And they would charge that with electricity and pass it up and down the cylinder of impure metal. And so this pure metal, energized, would suck out all the impurities of the metal. And so with Vipassana, it's the same. We're scanning our body up and down with the ring of our pure consciousness. And that pure consciousness is taking out all the impurities.
Wow, yeah, that makes sense. So if you are having a hard time meditating, which a lot of people are like the beginners, to sit for hours and hours, what do you recommend for like the beginners meditators to prepare themselves to be able to go to this retreat, 10 days retreat? Is there anything that you do before that?
Start small. Don't watch on the clock. Don't say I have to sit for an hour. I used to teach to inmates in prison, right? And these guys have so much suffering, so much stuff going on in their mind. If I were to try to get them to sit for an hour, they'd probably get 2 minutes of quality meditation. And then they'd spend 58 minutes thinking, what the heck am I doing? So I'd rather have them sit for 2 minutes. Right? I think quality is more important than quantity in terms of meditation. And it's important to build your way up. So I think maybe if you're really interested in this, deepening your meditation, what you should do is just focus on your inhales and exhales. Right? Anapana. Focus on inward, outward of your breath. And just watch. Don't expect to feel anything. Just look for what sensations you feel in the triangular area around your nose. From in between your brows, down your nose to your upper lip. That triangular area. Focus your total awareness and attention there on your inhales and exhales and see what you feel. I already gave a couple examples. Like maybe you feel the air going in and out of your nose. Maybe you feel the upper lip. Maybe you feel the left or the right. Maybe it's the same. Maybe you feel hot or cold. Do that for 5 minutes in the morning. And then start doing it for 5 minutes in the morning and night. Then start doing it 5 minutes in the morning, at noon, and at night. And little by little, extend it. And I wasn't meditating 10 hours a day. I think it was by your encouragement, Ronnie, that I so blindly and foolishly thought I was ready for this.
And
I told Ronnie that when I got there, I was like, oh, I'm so grateful that Ronnie... And then after about day 4 or 5, I was like, oh, Ronnie, I can't believe you tricked me into doing it. So my mind was playing a lot of games on me. At even one point, my mind, on like day 8, my mind was like, oh, you got the technique. You got this. You don't need to be here anymore. And I recognized that that was just my mind. And I wasn't going to quit. I wasn't going to give up. And I'm just going to sit here and observe.
I love it. I'm glad that you stick it out, because usually the day 3, it's like where everything really comes up. It takes a couple of days for me too when I go to Vipassana in the past before I really feel like, oh, I'm getting deep into my practice, and that's when I'm start to feel like there's suffering coming up. There's memories coming up. And if I get past the day 3, then I start to feel like it's a healing process. It's getting easier after day 3, right?
This would be a perfect time to share like my experience. So what it's called is samsaras.
Yeah, which just means karma.
You could say karma's one way. You could say like our past conditioning, right? And so for me, I got to day 8. And I was just watching the pain. I had this tremendous pain in the back of my shoulder. And because of all the yoga I do, it really prepared my body. But it's not like I didn't have this crazy pain in the back of my shoulder. And at some point in day 8, it became so much. I went and laid down in my room, and I had a little Vicks vapor rub bottle. And I rolled up and down on that little area in my shoulder, and it popped in. I had a rib out of place. And this was from an old jiu-jitsu injury.
So it was still injured when you went there?
Yeah, I broke this rib, and maybe it was a little dislocated or a little bit subluxated, as a chiropractor would say. And boom, it popped back into place. And I felt this free flow of energy. This is after 8 days of meditation. And I was just watching the pain. Finally felt I had created some powerful equanimity. I can see the pain and not react to it. So all this stuff came up, and the energy was free flowing. Oh, it was from jiu-jitsu. And I got up and I felt so amazing. I went and walked. They have a little hiking trail. And then as I was walking, the idea came into my head, wow, with all this equanimity, with all this sheer determination and focus and concentration and egolessness, and all the power that I've cultivated from my spiritual practice, I could go back to martial arts, practicing all the time.
This is your monkey mind telling you.
Right.
Wow.
I could go back, and this is just the start of it. I could go back and I could be better than I've ever been before. And I started Tony Robbins
yourself?
hyping myself up. Yeah, you can do this. You can do it. You can do it. And I like started getting very energized. And then at some point, I was like, whoa, hold on. I didn't come to a spiritual retreat to start fighting again and start hurting people again. Oh, so I created this huge attachment. And then, I had this huge aversion. No, this is not what I want. This is not what I want. And then this huge tornado of suffering arose in my mind, and I became so down and depressed. So you can sign up to go and speak with a teacher, and you can only speak about meditation questions. You can have about a 5-minute interview every
Each day?
Yeah, if you sign up. I did it 3 or 4 times. You can go and ask them just questions to make sure you're doing the technique correctly. And I went in and I asked the teacher, this old, very wise Buddha-like master,
Yeah.
I told him, I said, oh man, the samskara came up. And then I created attachment to the samskara. And then the huge aversion came. And then all equanimity was lost. And he looked at me and he laughed. And he said, don't worry. It happens to me all the time.
And that's the master teacher.
Yeah, and he said, just keep working at it.
Wow.
Keep doing it. Maybe when you first start, you have 5 minutes of equanimity per hour. And little by little, you grow. And so really, it's by being compassionate with yourself, by being patient. Our mind is like a wild animal. Our mind is like a raging elephant.
Yeah.
And so when you learn to master the mind, then you can control that elephant and whatever it is you're doing, whether it's business or whether it's making money or whether it's spiritual practice or whatever it is you do in life, when you learn to master your mind, you can harness the power of this wild raging elephant and use it.
Yeah, you can master your life. Basically, I learned that this technique of washing your mind and staying detached from the sensation of your body, or even the pain or the aversion or the attachment of the pleasure that you feel of your body, it helps you to also use that same technique in your daily life. For example, when you get angry with someone, you can just practice to stay detached from your feeling of being pissed off or your feeling of being, stressed or angry. So this technique can literally be applied in all areas of your life. Master your mind. I love that.
Our mind is like a weapon, right? So like a sword, you need to sharpen it. So meditation sharpens the weapon of your mind so that you become the master and you can use it at will. The way the meditation works in Buddhist philosophy, there's 104 aspects of the mind. And I've been meditating for 15 years. And I've done dozens of different types of meditation. And this is the most powerful form. Because it takes you to the depth of your mind. It's like doing deep surgery. And taking out the root of the problem. So imagine your mind is an ocean.
Yeah.
Before I said Buddhist philosophy has 104 different aspects of the mind. Let's break it down to 4 major categories. The first category is our senses. Right? So sight, hearing, taste, touch.
I think it's 5.
5, right?
Yeah.
But you also have the mind is also
Right.
in Buddhist philosophy.
Receptive.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So that's the extra one. Hearing is the other one that I didn't mention. So 6. So you have your senses is the most superficial layer.
Right.
The grossest layer. So the next more subtle layer is your perception of the senses. And then the next more subtle layer is the emotion or the feeling that you get from the perception. And then the deepest layer is your conditioned response. So for instance, somebody says something to you, right? That's mean. So you hear that, right? And then you perceive the mean thing being said. That's your perception. One layer deeper, the emotion. It makes you feel bad. And then your reaction to that. Now your conditioned reaction to feeling bad may be an automatic response. So anytime somebody says something to you that you hear and makes you feel bad, then your conditioned response is to say something mean back to them.
Right. It's conditioned.
Right. So
the mind.
By doing this technique, by sitting there still for 10 hours.
And watch your mind.
Watch. You go so deep that you see the stuff come up. All right, I got an itch on my ear. Oh man, when I have an itch, it makes me not feel well. So now I want to scratch the ear. And you just watch the whole process and observe it without reacting.
But don't itch it.
Right. And believe it or I was like, no, that's BS. You can't sit for a whole hour. And then I would sit and watch my foot fall asleep. And yeah, you want to move when your foot falls asleep. It doesn't feel good. But I would just watch it and not move. And it was actually possible.
And would it go away?
Yeah, and that's one of the beauties of the teachings of Buddha is that everything in life is impermanent.
Yeah.
That's why to recognize, to create an aversion or an attachment to an experience creates suffering. Because a good thing, something that we become attached to, is impermanent. And something that we don't like, an aversion, is also impermanent.
Yeah.
So to create an attachment to or an aversion to an experience is inevitably going to create suffering. So in our daily life, if we're able to apply the equanimity, we can just appreciate things even more. And that's another question that I asked the teacher. Well, when I create this great equanimity, where's joy? How am I ever going to be happy? And he laughed again and he said, well, look, everything is impermanent. So when you see joy, you can appreciate it even more, experience it even more fully because you recognize that it's only a temporary thing. That it's not going to be forever.
Stay detached from it.
Right.
Don't get overly joyous.
Yeah, don't be attached, but it allows you to experience the joy more fully. And you just watch it. You know, there's something that Goenka said is that Vipassana is really it's really the best practice to teach you how to die. I'm like,
why is that?
That's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
Well, because, okay, you're doing the meditation. Oh, this is pain. Not good. This is pain. I'm watching the pain. Oh, this is pleasure. This is pleasure. Oh, my foot's falling asleep. This is my foot falling asleep. Death comes. Oh, this is death. And you just watch it equanimously.
And don't react. I was going to ask you what the best lesson that you learned there, but I guess that was the answer, right? It's to stay detached from all sensations and pain and pleasure.
Equanimity.
That's the word. You have been talking about equanimity, yeah. I think that's
I think that's the
really
purpose behind all spiritual practices.
Yeah.
Is to develop equanimity.
And would you do it again? Would you go to Vipassana again?
I'm going again in January, so I think that's your answer is yes. But yeah, so you can, believe it or not, this, and we're going to have the link. It's Dhamma, DHOMMA.org.
Yeah.
You can go and you can find one of these centers near you, and it's donation based. So if you don't have any money, they'll house you, they'll feed you, they'll teach you. That's how authentic and real this organization is. And I chose to go back and give service. So I'm going to go back. Ronnie's going in January. I'm going to go, and I'm going to help make the meals and clean up after the meals for everyone while doing the meditation. So like 8 or 9 hours of like tough work every day.
Just to
just
give back.
to give back, because I can imagine the best feeling I'll ever experience in my life is to facilitate other people to have that same experience. So I'm very excited. I know it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm very excited for that.
That's beautiful. That's so awesome.
In terms of equanimity, I want to share another story.
Okay.
Because I'm talking so much about it, and I wrote a lot about equanimity,
Yeah.
and everything I wrote in my book is in total alignment with the truth. I just had a deeper experience of it. So when I talk about equanimity, or when I talk about enlightenment, here's a great story. There were two little boys in India, and they were both beggars, right? And one of them was blind. So the blind boy, one day he was very sick, and his friend said, "Don't worry, I'll go out and I'll beg and I'll collect us some food." So he went out, and he got this woman gave him this amazing dessert, this dish. It was yogurt with fruit and berries and nuts in it, and it was absolutely delicious. But the little boy was so poor, he didn't even have a container to put it in to take it back to his friend. So he had to eat it all there, you know? And he went back, and he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry," he told his friend, the blind, sick boy. "I'm so sorry, I got this amazing, delicious yogurt dessert, and I didn't have anything to bring it back in, so I had to eat it right there." And the blind boy said, "Well, describe it to me. Tell me what the yogurt is like." And the boy said, "Well, the yogurt is white." And he said, "Well, what is white?" And the boy who could see, he said, "White? You don't know what white is?" "Oh, well, white is like a goose." "Oh, what is a goose like?" And he says, "You don't know what a goose is like." So the boy who could see went and he got a goose. And he found a goose in the lake, and he brought it over, and he said, "This is a goose. Touch, feel it. The goose is white." And he said, "Oh, very soft. So white is very soft, huh?" And the boy said, No. White is not soft. White is like the goose, the color of the goose. White is the, you know." And he said, "But what do you mean? I'm touching it, and I feel very soft." And the boy said, No, try again, touch again. So he touched the neck of the goose. And it's very round, you know? And so the blind boy says, "Oh, this is white, very curved, very curvy." And the boy said, No, this is not white. So the whole point of the story is the only way you can really know equanimity, the only way you can really experience enlightenment is to go and do it. Do the work and experience it on your own. You have to see to know. I can describe in full, vivid detail, but it's going to be like thinking, "Oh, this is what it is."
Yeah.
But you won't really know until you experience it.
Yeah, it's one thing, and I said this all the time to people too, that one thing that you read the book and have all the knowledge that you know how to meditate or how to do everything from the book. But to really know and experience of how it really feels when you actually practice something or do something, very different than just read about it. Or hear about it.
There's 3 levels, and we were talking about this earlier today. It's like, so the first level is, I would like to meditate. I want to start eating healthy. I want to start doing good. So you're thinking about it. And then the second level is to start learning about the philosophy, right? Like, oh, I'm reading the book. I got Jayson's book. This is so great. It feels amazing to learn this, you know? He describes it so well. He's such a great author. No, I'm kidding. But slow down there. But the only way you can really know is to actually do and experience. So you have thinking about it, you have like learning about it, and you have actually doing. Yeah. So I really encourage everyone, just do it. Just do the work.
And stick it through 10 days, because I've heard that a lot of people leave like 2 days after or 5 days after.
A lot of people leave. Yeah. But the mind is you know, my guru in India said the ego, like our mind, tries to trick us. Like if you put a piece of plastic over water, and then there's a bubble, and you put your finger down on the bubble, and then 2 bubbles pop up. And then you put your finger down on those 2 bubbles, and 4 bubbles pop up. So the mind will try to trick you in every which way. You just have to say, you know what? I'm not leaving. I see you. I understand this. You make a valid argument, but I'm not leaving. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to deal with it. There was a guy on day 8, and he went over the tipping point. And his mind tried to trick him so much, he said, "Oh, I've seen God. I'm enlightened. I don't need to be here anymore." And he was like screaming, and then the manager or whatever, he's like, "Dude, you gotta go. Like, you need to chill out. You can't be talking. Like, you can't be here anymore."
And if you leave early, can you go back?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
But it's like doing deep surgery on your mind. So if you do deep surgery, right? If you go to the doctor and he does surgery, what happens if an hour before this 5-hour surgery is done, you say, "Hey, doc, I'm good. I mean, they took the stuff out. I'm totally fine." They still have to seal you up, put the stitches, put the Band-Aid, put the ointment, do all the stuff, you know?
Yeah. And you think that 10 days, it's a good amount to do like a deep surgery? There's still more. I always do more.
Absolutely.
Sure.
10 days is huge. And your level of preparedness, it really makes a difference. The younger you get into this, the deeper you're going to go. So like I said, I've been doing yoga, I've been doing meditation for a long time. I went really deep. After that rib popped in, the whole jujitsu, the equanimity, I started realizing that all my pain was psychosomatic. So my mind makes up the pain to manifest the emotional discomfort, the emotional suffering. So when you get to that point, and I broke through the threshold, whoa, this pain in my shoulder is from this. As soon as I talked to my teacher, and he laughed, you know, and he said, "Just keep doing it," my shoulder never hurt again. But then something else did, and the next thing came up. I went through every relationship in my whole life. And so, like with karma, the way to level out that karma is not if somebody does something bad, then you do something good. Or somebody does something good. No. That's just playing the game, back and forth, back and forth. Karma is not about good or bad. It's about equanimity, or winning the game. So when my mind would come up with these painful things or pleasurable experiences or whatever it was, I would just watch the experience and not react. I wouldn't say this is good or this is bad. I would just watch them.
Because when you react, you're actually creating more karma.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I learned too in Thailand. The monk always teaches like, if you react to get mad at someone or revenge someone, and that's you creating more karma.
Or even if you get attached to a pleasurable experience.
Yeah.
More karma.
More karma.
So it's not about good or bad. It's about equanimity. And so I literally saw I went deep. I saw things in preschool before I could remember, 2-3 years old. I even saw like being born, which is amazing. Wow. And I saw the unfortunate circumstances, the way that, you know, most children are born into like a substance issue thing, you know, like most mothers take painkiller and tranquilizer, and then the child comes into this world in that. And so, maybe that's interesting, but we have so much drug issue and drug addiction, and that's how so many children are brought into this world.
Yeah.
So I actually got to go all the way back to when I was born. Wow. And it goes deeper. But I was saying that the sooner you get into this work, and I started doing meditation yoga at 19 years old. I've been doing it for, you know, I'm 31 now, so you can do the math. But I talked to a guy who was 60 years old, and he said, I couldn't get past last week. Because an older person, not that they're bad or anything like that, but their mind has been so conditioned by this world that it's a very dull knife. And younger people, their knife is already kind of sharp. So they just need a little practice to really sharpen it. So the sooner you get in, the more you can start sharpening
the earlier that you get in, the better, faster you get.
Yeah.
Better with sharpening your mind. And for all listeners out there, I highly, highly recommend to go, because I've done this a couple times in Thailand myself and had great experience. I had great transformation, and I see the transformation that you had, which it's wonderful. Like I can't wait to go again in January, and hopefully when I come back, I can share this experience too. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit different than what I've experienced from Thailand, and longer period of time, which that's going to probably bring up a lot of stuff. So I'm excited to go practice this and come back and share it.
Well, that's a good question maybe for me to ask you. What differences did you notice in me when I came back?
You seem to be not reacted to the external. So for instance, someone wrote a note on your car on the windshield of your car.
Should I share that story?
Yeah, please do share.
So
On the first day.
So on my way back, yes, Ronnie, I had talked to her on the phone shortly, and we decided to go to the Thai Buddhist temple at 12:30 or something when I got back. There was a big holiday. But I wanted to do something nice for her when I got back because we love going to the farmer's market, and I knew she wouldn't have time, so I went, and she's a major fan of persimmons, so I bought some persimmons and persimmon salsa, amazing, and veggie juice, and so I showed up with all these goodies, and
that was so sweet.
When I got out, there was a note on my car, and unbeknownst to me, I didn't recognize that I had parked in front of the a ramp. Yeah. And it was like a handicap ramp. It had a green paint on it, so I thought you could park in front, but I didn't recognize that it was covering that. So there was a note on my window, and I took the note off the window, and it was a huge note. It was like, "Shame on you. I hope you're handicapped someday, and hope you get to experience this and that." And I was just like, whoa. I was like, I just got back from the retreat out, and I saw like, oh, how does this make me feel?
Yeah.
Whoa, this is...
transitioning back to the real world, how is that, right?
So it was like, whoa, thanks, universe, for testing me. And I got to see, whoa, this is what's coming up. I looked at my body, and I was like, wow, my body feels hot and heavy. And then I was like, normally, I saw what would be anger. And then what would I normally do to react? And just be pissed off when I jumped in my car and leave. And I saw that whole process, and I said, well, why would I be angry? And so what naturally happens when we cultivate equanimity is compassion and love. And I felt so sorry for this person that they would waste so much of their time to write this note that it doesn't even affect them or doesn't even matter to them. And they would write this great big note, take away time from their family, and then be angry about it in the farmer's market. Something
and
that makes
take
no
away
difference.
their energy too.
Right. So what I did was just send this person pure, unconditional love. I used the metta technique, and I charged myself with love, and then sent it directly to that person. And I was like, they're going to really enjoy this market. They're going to forget about that. They're going to appreciate their family. They're going to appreciate everything. And then I hopped in the car, and I went home and saw you.
Yeah, and that's, you technically clear out karma between him, because the blessing, the energies, and the positive energy that you send towards that person, they energetically will receive that. I learned that from a Reiki class. And
That reminds me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Whether they know it or not, on an energetic level, it affects their feel. Like it really helps with their lifting up their vibration, the fact that you're sending them love.
Yogi Ji told me a story, a wonderful story. And he said the Buddha was walking down a street one day with one of his disciples. And a man came up to him, and he walked across the street, and he looked at the Buddha, and he spit in his face. And the Buddha put his hands together in prayer and bowed, and he said, "Thank you," very sincerely. Turned around and walked away. And the disciple was so angry. He was like, why would Buddha not do anything? Why would he not say anything? I don't understand. Why would I even want to follow a person that's just going to let people spit in their face? And he went and he asked the Buddha, like, why wouldn't you do anything? And the Buddha, he said, I'd been waiting for that. And it all had to do with karma. So it's like, even looking at it that way, I should be grateful that this person gave me that opportunity to respond to hatred with love.
Yeah, to practice
Equanimity and compassion, like, wow. And that's what I mean is, you're not charging yourself with love. You're not imagining that, because you are love. Yeah. That's all you really are. And when we're able to see things with equanimity, all there is love. So I totally agree with you that the problems and the struggles in my life, I'm able to handle them much differently. I'm able to go into meditation much more easily. Even today, I went into my meditation and I was like, whoa, this is bliss. Don't get attached to it because it's impermanent. Just watch it. This is bliss. And I was like, wow, this is bliss.
It is bliss. I sit in meditation in the morning for an hour every day and I love it. At first, it was more like discipline and it was more like work. But the more you sit and are able to enjoy the meditation, it will become more like joyful and bliss, and you're going to start craving it.
Well, again, so that's the problem with people who start to get deep into meditation, is craving. Because what follows craving? Attachment. And what follows attachment? Oh, suffering. So the thing is to recognize this is bliss. This is impermanent.
But stay detached from it.
Right, is to watch it. And so don't crave. Just observe. Just sit there and watch it and observe. Towards the end, on the last day, we do what's called the metta meditation and charging ourselves with love, goodwill, compassion. And I was charging myself with so much love. And it wasn't because the meditation was over. It wasn't because 10 days. It wasn't because I had put in all this work. I was just watching what was arising in me. And I totally lost myself in love. Beautiful. And I saw this whole place was love. And I watched and tears started pouring down both of my eyes. Like, not probably since I was a child. And I watched it and I said, this is impermanent. This is temporary. And in doing so, I didn't create more karma. What happens is most people, when they have a positive experience in meditation, I had a great meditation. They create an attachment to that meditation, which creates more karma. Oh, I want to feel my body all tingly like he felt his body all tingly. I want to lose myself in unconditional love. The whole point is to just experience it and just watch, just observe in equanimity. So it was a very powerful experience for me.
Good. Well, we are going to close it up, but is there anything else you would like to share that I have not asked you yet? Or if there's, how would you like to close this?
Well, what's the question we normally ask everybody who's interviewed?
So, when the time gets tough, how do you stay inspired to do your practice and your work?
It's funny because I didn't think about how to answer this question. We ask everybody and I didn't think about how to answer it. So maybe I'll do this way instead. Every New Year's, we're members of the Self-Realization Fellowship. And we do a New Year's meditation. So first of all, I'd like to invite everyone to do this meditation. 2016, I think, was the worst year of my life. And I did this meditation at the start of 2017. And 2017 has, hands down, been the absolute best year of my life.
Oh.
So we literally end the year from 11:15 to 12:15. meditating and we ask God, what do you want from me to do this year?
So on New Year's Eve, you meditate.
Right. And you ask God, not what I want for this year. I want to lose 10 pounds. No. God, what do you want from me this year? And so what I got is the answer to your question. How do we stay spiritually inspired? Right? How do I stay inspired when the times get tough? What I received in that meditation was when the time gets tough, the spiritually minded heighten their devotion. So when things get tough, to really heighten my devotion, to be more devoted to my purpose than ever.
Yeah, so turn your emotions to devotion.
Ooh, that's pretty good. Use the energy of your emotion,
right,
for that divine devotion.
For the devotion, yeah.
Oh, beautiful. That was pretty awesome, Ronnie.
Thank you.
So I definitely want to invite everyone. If you guys want, message us or whatnot, or look on Self-Realization Fellowship. Everyone does a New Year's meditation, which is coming up. And also, please start meditating.
Yeah.
Go at least once in your life. You have to try this Vipassana meditation. It will change your life and the world around you.
Yeah, you can Google it on YouTube too, and there's some TED Talk on it that we watched the other day too. It's awesome about different opinions, how people experience this Vipassana, and they share the experiences, and you can learn and see, and really, really just take one time to start to go experience it, and maybe do it once a year.
Yeah, that from now on, I'm going to do it once a year.
All right, well, thank you so much for tuning in.
And let me finish with some words of S.N. Goenka.
Okay.
May all beings be happy, be loved, and be liberated.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jayson. I hope you guys enjoy our podcast. If you like our podcast, please leave the comment below, and also follow us on the website. It's spirituallyinspiredpodcast.com, and also our Facebook page, Spiritually Inspired Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Blessings.